Hello, I'm going to talk about Chapter 2 of this book, Megapolitical Transformations in Historic Perspective. Talking about this book. It's August 11th, nice and hot, and my mask has got some fuzz on it. But anyways, we'll talk some keynotes here. I have just 5 key points about the second chapter. It's about historical perspectives of what happens geopolitically or megapolitically, the transformations that occur. So if you get somebody that's got control of critical resources, say water, irrigation in the desert, to farmland, and if it's a large-scale irrigation system, it's very easy for the controller of the irrigation system to become a despotic government, which is quite interesting. Uh, so that kind of leads to some instabilities. This is, I think, still true today to some extent. If you had crop, another key point is crop failures extended over several years raised food prices. So income would shrink and ultimately causing governments to be overthrown. It's like food prices going up is not a good thing for any government. Um, Syria was a potential recent example of this particular problem. There was a drought before there was a mass exodus in Syria. Uh, so that's kind of relevant for today. Another key point I have in this chapter is that before this century, most parents gave birth to many children who many were expected to die. So this was a commonplace thing apparently, where I guess probably no contraception, and a woman just popped out as many duplicates, people. Many babies. So many, because a lot of them are expected to just die because of from disease, which was commonplace. So it kind of made death commonplace. So this common experience of death, I guess, was probably a contributing factor to having soldiers more willing to just go off and fight in a war, so they'd have less resistance to that. This is before this century. To put my own thoughts in here, Vietnam had a draft. Most recent wars, though, have been largely voluntary, like Iraq, a lot of paid mercenaries. So that's an interesting perspective. It's also another key point of this chapter is future wars will likely be cyber wars, less physical destruction. That's a good thing. I think a war is probably the most stupidest form of human behavior. Least productive. The good side of war is technological advancement. You get a lot of cool technology, but it's still the least productive when it's applied to destructive technology. We got demolition of buildings to build a bigger, nicer building. That's a good thing, but to do it, you know, as a war, that's stupid. So, but that's the way the world works. At least the past. Hopefully, the future will be different. Kind of reminds me of a Star Trek episode where there was war simulated. Instead of destroying all the buildings, they just did a two artificial intelligence computers attacking each other and did a simulated wars with each other. And whoever won that war, they just took over the other side's assets. It's kind of interesting. I'm not sure what episode of Star Trek that was, but the last key point is I'm going to quote the author exactly because I think it's very relevant for today with this pandemic that's going on. And I'll quote the author's interruption of microparasites, such as a viral pandemic, rather than drastic changes in climatography, I pronounce that, would more likely disrupt the mega political predominance of technology. So we're experiencing a pandemic right now, and so we got this virus that seems to be on the scale of what we experienced in 1918. So it's interesting. If everybody in the world wore one of these for 14 days in a row, we'd probably have this pandemic completely wiped out, so that everybody go back to work and stop wearing the Halloween mask or whatever that mask they're wearing. It's kind of like Halloween every day right now, but you know, Halloween was my favorite holiday. But that's all the points I have for chapter number 2 of this book, Sovereign Individual, by these two people. It's a pretty interesting book. Uh, Hope everybody's having a good day, and I'll see you next video. Have fun, stay safe, wear a mask till this thing's over. Can't get any candy for wearing a mask, but maybe on Halloween Day.